we're just gonna jump into it. I think we're just gonna jump into it. There's no mucking around. We'll
Sure.
just jump into it. Hey man, welcome to the podcast. I guess.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for the guitar, by the way. It's looking good on the
Oh, you're
desk
most
there.
welcome.
Yeah, I
It
like
kind of
it.
does, doesn't it?
So, did you make that guitar?
No, a friend of a friend made it for me. It's a replica of my real life guitar. So
Oh, okay.
it had very exacting specs.
Right. So you have a friend who creates like mesh objects and stuff like that, and they just kind of whipped it up for you.
I have a friend of a friend who
Friend of a
does.
friend.
Yeah. So it's I don't know this person personally, but she
Yeah.
whipped it up for me.
Yeah, I had a fan make me a car once. It's they called it the bird
Oh, yeah?
plane. It's like an inside joke with my fans. Yeah, it's this giant green muscle car that they made me. I love it. It's awesome. Yeah,
Oh, that does sound cool.
well, I know lots of creative people in SL, and like people look at us and it's obvious to them that we're creative. It's like, oh, they're musicians, but there's a lot of people that are really super creative, but it's not as in your face as music, right? People that create like these mesh objects and sculpts and script makers and like all kinds of
Yep.
people that do shop designs and shop layouts. Like I know like probably 10 people who are really gifted at decorating. They've just got an eye for creating Sims, and that's super cool.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where like it's a very specific set of skills too, skills that I don't personally have, but there's a whole sort of like collection of skills specific to doing creative things in Second
Yeah.
Life that are specific to Second Life, which involve software and skills and knowledge that I have never done anything
Yeah.
with.
Well, I think to be a musician in SL, you have to have a reasonable understanding of production, how sound works.
Yeah.
Like you can't, like you have to know how to EQ. You have to know like how to get your sound to a certain level. And that's one of the things that I'm most grateful of in SL music is that there is an undeniable standard of quality. There really is. Like you can't just get up with like a $60 mic and a $200 guitar and just have a go. Like not if
Although
you want.
I've heard it.
I mean, you've probably heard it, but there probably wasn't many people there, right? Like there seems to be a
No.
real standard of quality. I think so.
Well, I mean, I think we're lucky because a lot of really fantastic musicians
They set the
take the
standard.
time to
Yep.
come into Second Life. Although I am personally very excited by the way that Second Life is so welcoming to musicians that aren't that good, or
Yeah.
aren't that pro or not that expert, because there are so few spaces for people like that
Yeah, yeah.
in the music world, and so I find that
Oh,
very
there's no standard for talent. I
inspiring.
think anybody, if they've got the heart, there's a welcoming environment to have a go. I've never been to an SL music show where people have been criticized, haggled in any way. It's a really welcoming.
Right, same.
The
Yeah,
standard's always on the production side, like always. It's always like
yeah.
you need to have like a 192 like minimum stream quality. That kind of standard. But the standard's definitely not how well you can sing. Otherwise, most of us would be out of a job. Like
Yeah.
we compare ourselves to great singers. Like for example, Max DeClean is my measuring stick. I call him my measuring stick. It's
Okay.
like
Okay.
his sound is clean and crisp on a level because he does what I do, right? He does the guitar singing thing, but his production quality is just so clean and crisp that it's like, oh, that's what to aim for. That perfect EQ, that guitar sound, the tone of his levels, it's really
Yeah,
brilliant.
the balance.
That's what it is. That's the quality. It's like, oh my goodness me. It'd be nice if I had a degree in, music production, but I don't. I'm just some idiot who's self-taught. But I make do sort of thing. And you're in a
Also, there's something about the Second Life environment where, yeah, just like the other stuff we were talking about, you have to learn some very Second Life specific skills that you aren't necessarily going to get taught in a post
yes,
secondary
yes, true,
situation, right?
true.
Just being able to adjust your sound slightly so that it works better with a stream, for instance. And I found like getting my compression together. And we're really getting kind of
Yeah,
like into the nerdy stuff for
yeah.
people who are maybe not so technical, but getting
That's fine.
compression together really
Yeah.
makes a big difference.
It does, yeah. Well, it's what people hear is they hear like, let's be honest, they hear us sing and they think, oh, they're just naturally talented. It's like, well, yes, but no. There's de-essing, there's compression, there's a whole bunch of other things that a lot of people have no idea about. But trust me, if I took it all off, you'd notice.
You would
right?
notice.
Like, you would
Yeah.
notice. You'd be like, oh, he's not
No,
that
I
good.
need, yeah.
You know?
I need like 6 steps of
Yeah.
processing just to make
We-
it sound like I plugged
yes.
in a mic and just started talking. So
Yes.
and it's fine. Like they don't need to know that.
No,
That's
it's
okay.
what-
That's
what we
you don't have
call
to
in
bring
the-
them in on that, but
It's what we call in the industry the vocal chain. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's how we get from, like, because okay, so it's not that we're not good without it. It's just that raw vocals into a studio mic, isolated like that, is going to sound jarring to the human ear, almost like it's alien and not real. And that's
oh yeah, no,
yeah,
that's true.
that's right, because our mics are designed to like sound so raw and clean before we put effects on it that, like, if I was talking to you in person and singing to you in person, I would sound better than I would through my raw mic, right?
Yes, that's
'Cause
absolutely true
yeah, 'cause-
because the
yeah.
human ear is so much beyond the technology we have that if you're in the same room and your audio is just going through air and it goes to
Yeah.
the ear knows exactly what to do with it so much better.
Yeah.
But the technology of getting your sound through all of this electronic stuff and then broadcasting
Yes,
it is
exactly.
really complicated just to get it sort of in the same range
Yeah.
as what the ear does with just moving air, which really says something amazing about the construction of the human ear, doesn't it?
Well, I think our brains are trained to detect bullshit. That's the thing. It's the same with AI. When we see AI that's done poorly, we can automatically tell it's AI because it's so unnatural and wrong that our brain sends a reg signal up that goes, that's not real, that's not right, that shouldn't exist in creation, right? And I think the same thing happens with music. It's like when you hear something that's like foreign, it's like your ear knows instinctually it's not real, you know? It's not organic, which is what reverb is, by the way, folks. A lot of you are like, why do singers use reverb? Because reverb creates that natural air, what he was describing earlier, that air feel of what it would be like to sing in like a little chapel somewhere or a little, auditorium somewhere, you know? Which has natural reverb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it is like it is fake, right? So
It is. It's
um,
fake.
this is
It's
one of the
fake
things that
buildings. Yeah, that's what reverb is, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's like a fake building that we create.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is, and we use a lot of. I mean, I don't like using the word fake
No.
because I think that's a little misleading, but
Disingenuous. Yeah.
or just it's augmented.
Yeah.
I feel like for instance we use reverb. We use panning, we use equalization, we use compression, we use volume, we use all of that stuff, and which is not naturally occurring, right? So
Yeah.
that's just part of listening to music that's produced using
Yes.
technology. That all has to be part of it, just to create the impression that you're listening with the naked ear.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We're trying to make it sound as organic as we can. Okay, so this is something I'm guilty of, and it's probably something Joel's noticed. I don't know if he was guilty of it back when he was starting out, but there's this thing where we hide behind the reverb, right? Like we're unsure of our own voice, we don't think we're talented enough, and so we crank that reverb up, and we kind of think that, well, there's so much reverb, it's flooding out the imperfections, and so that's not good to do. You got to conquer that fear, and because trust me, we can all tell when it's too much reverb. We can all
Yeah.
tell,
No, that's absolutely true. And I was lucky because for one specific reason, which is I am a fan of a Canadian musician whose name is Jane Siberry,
Oh, yep.
and like she's not super well known right now, or she is, but like kind of among the underground a lot more. But one of the things that she talked about in an interview for an album she did way back, like I think in '89, called Bound by the Beauty, that was really, she basically talked about her own voice and coming to a point, like a place of peace about her own vocal imperfections.
Yeah.
And talking about reverb and all of those sorts of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
And that just stuck with me. So when I started doing it, I was definitely guilty of using too much reverb,
Yep.
but I also got to a point where I was like, well, Jane Siberry warned me against this. So I
Yep.
was sort of looking out for it a little bit.
Plus, there's such a uniqueness to that. Like, what I find, like a lot of the fans that come to my shows, I've had conversations with them, and part of the reason they are fans of mine is because of the imperfections and the uniqueness. Like, I think because I don't sound like every other singer, and my voice is like a weird kind of voice, and it has a unique quality to it that some people like, you know. And I think you have to have those imperfections because it makes you, you know.
Well, two things I would say about that. First of all, I don't think your voice is weird. I think your voice is
Really, you don't think so?
fantastic.
I
Yeah.
can't think of
No,
another
not at
person on
all.
earth that sounds like me.
Well, that's I mean, first of all, that's good, but like
Yeah,
you're a fantastic singer and
well,
a
thanks. I
great
appreciate that.
guitarist and all that. Like really, you really are very good. The
I'm
other
a
thing I would
one-trick
say is
pony.
that
That's what I. Yeah, keep going.
oh, I don't know. I think even if you are, that trick is a pretty
That's
good
a good
trick.
trick.
So,
Yeah, thanks.
but I would also say that people I don't think less of this, but like when people say like, "Hey, the imperfections are part of what makes it good," when they say that, what they mean is like if you forget some of the lyrics and you just have to hum through a verse, they're
Mm-hmm.
like, "That's just part of the." What
Yeah.
they don't mean is there's like screaming feedback going through one of
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
16
yeah,
channels, and I can't figure out like those. And when people are like, "Why be such a perfectionist?" and what they don't realize is I'm
yeah,
protecting you from the
yeah, yeah,
actual flaws, right?
yeah.
Like I don't care about forgetting a couple words either. I'm worried about like suddenly my mic doesn't work for like 5 minutes in the middle of a
Yes,
show. You know, those
yes.
are the
Like what happened
imperfections
to
that
me the
I'm
other
scared of.
night. Like,
Yeah,
remember?
exactly.
Yes.
Terrifying.
You know
Yeah.
what? You know why I think stuff like that happens to me? So I mentioned earlier today to you when we were chatting and hanging out that I use my interface as my main PC audio. I think with most studios, they have a certain music PC that's connected to the right equipment, and it's used for like production, recording an album, you know, and it's kept in an isolated environment that's kept clean. Whereas because it's my main PC audio and I use it for like gaming, YouTube, like talking to people every day. Like I talk to people all day in SL through my mic,
Yeah.
and then I sing several
Right.
times, and then I, you know, blast my studio monitor speakers, which are actual like high quality studio monitor speakers, but I use them to watch Lord of the
Right.
Rings, right? And so I'm
Yeah.
just
Well, why not?
juicing,
I
I'm
mean,
juicing my gear that's really
mhm,
only meant to record like proper albums and stuff. And so I think
right.
every 3 years or so, my gear falls apart and I have to replace it all.
Okay.
You know?
Well, I mean, you identified the problem with that gig, which was that your fan wasn't
Yes.
working. And as
Yeah.
soon as
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
heard you
Yeah.
say that, I knew you were
Yeah.
not going to get rid of that problem. But like,
Nah.
I've been there too. Like, I I've worked with like I've been on like cheaper laptops and that kind of thing
Yep.
where like the CPU literally just can't handle it, you know, and I've got like
Yep.
two
Nah.
fans literally aimed at the
Yeah. You
computer
can't.
and like some
Nah.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I've got like the gear that I have now is up to the job, but I also like one of the other things I did is I also parceled out the CPU load into two different computers. So one computer does the audio, one computer does Second Life and broadcasting,
Yep.
and I found that that really helped too.
Yep. And for those of you watching the podcast and you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't see green above their heads. What the hell's going on? Obvious thing you've noticed there. It's because we're actually piping the audio from Discord. Because we have some issues with Joel's mic in SL, so there's no green above our head. So, so we're just using the voice from Discord, which is actually a better quality than the local voice. Like local voice in SL
That's
is
right.
like 96, right? And if I was to private call you in SL, that's 128.
That's right.
So it's abysmal. Whereas Discord's 192, right? So
Right. Not to mention that I don't know if they still do this. I don't use the Second Life voice very often, but there's a forced noise gate
yeah. Yes, I
on
turn
and
that
that
off. Yeah, I turn that off.
I
Yeah.
cannot stand that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that could be turned off now.
Yeah,
It didn't
it
used to
can.
be, but it was
Yeah, well, they call it noise suppression. You know, it's
yeah, no thank you.
yeah. Just
Yeah, it's terrible.
uncheck. Yeah, it's so stupid. It's well, it's not stupid. Hang on, it's not stupid. It's really good for headsets. If you've got a headset, you know, like it's gonna make people's headsets sound like it's not gonna pick up. Because sometimes when you've got a crappy headset, when a dog barks, it's like really high end and
Yeah.
it's piercing and annoying, and so a noise gate will eliminate a lot of that. But when you've
Here's
got a
here's
high quality
hoping,
mic
but
like mine, it just sounds chunky.
Also, it would be different if I could adjust the threshold. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
a quick lesson for people who are listening who don't know what a noise gate is. I'll just quickly explain that. A noise gate is a bit of technology that's added to audio that basically detects silence, and when it hears silence it turns off the audio. So for instance, if you're speaking into a microphone like I am now, I don't have a noise gate engaged on my mic at the moment, but
no,
what would happen is once the volume drops below a certain level, so you might hear the hiss of the background noise, or maybe like a little bit of like background chit chat from other
yeah,
people in the house or whatever. But if it's below a certain threshold, it just turns it off, which is good. Like that's actually really handy
yeah,
because there's a lot of really great applications for that. And it helps to keep the noise down and all that kind of thing.
yeah,
But the problem is what the noise gate thinks that threshold is. If it's too low, then you end up getting that background noise anyway.
yeah.
It doesn't cut off soon enough. But if it's too high, then as soon as
Get
you're
on and off,
speaking
on and
in a
off.
softer
Yeah,
voice, it's cutting your voice
yeah,
off because it's like it'll hear the last like 10% of a word and it'll be like, oh, he's done, and cut it off. And
yeah,
and anybody who's used Second Life Voice knows what I'm talking about. And
yeah,
that drives me
yeah.
insane.
Yeah, what I don't like is when people they like to voice in SL, and you know who you are. You know who you are if you're listening. People that like to voice, but they have a cheap mic, and it sounds like the mic's in their mouth. You know, it's like
Yeah.
distorted mess, and it's like, man, just like create an alt, open up the alt, put your sound on in SL, and just speak into your mic and hear yourself talk from the other avatar's perspective, and just play with it. Get that, because everyone's got to listen to you, right? Like everyone's got to hear
Or
you. So get it right, get it, and turn it down if you
yeah.
have to. Get the gain right, what we call gain. Make sure it's not
Or the people who
distorting.
put the or the people who put the mic like right in their mouth, where they're like, "Hey, who wants to go down to
Yeah,
Frank's right
yeah,
now?"
yeah,
Like that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, the worst one is when you can tell they got like a Walmart mic, and someone's probably sitting there thinking, listen, that's all I can afford, Sam. Like, leave me alone."
Yeah. But you know what? Like you can still work with that. A lot of times, if you just adjust the volume or the input volume, and you just like
Yeah,
put here's my handy tips for people using cheap microphones. If you just keep like one hand distance away from the microphone, and you
yep,
set the
fist.
input level, it's
Yep,
it's not nearly so bad. Yeah.
yep. And also just playing with the volume control in the settings, and just sometimes turning it down a little bit, helps a
Mhm.
lot too, I think.
Absolutely.
But if you
Are
get
you sorry, are you on Instagram?
I am. I'm on all social media. You know what? That's actually one of
Okay.
the biggest indictments to my career and what I do in
Wait, wait, wait,
music.
wait, wait. Just tell me. Wait, wait, wait. Just tell me your Instagram handle. I'm making a post saying I'm going to
Okay.
be on this
Yeah, yeah,
podcast.
yeah. It's
Yeah. What is it?
let me just, I actually forget, so let me just type in Instagram.
Okay.
Samuel Roberts Music. So at Samuel Roberts Music. Yep.
Okay. Got it.
Roberts. Yep. Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
actually
Okay.
have
Great.
all social media, like everything, right? But the issue is, um, I'll get motivated, right? Like I'll say to myself, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get motivated, and I'll take a selfie in SL every day. I'll post it at noon. I'll record a
And they're
music
like,
clip and post it in the
no.
afternoon, and I'll do that for like 2 weeks, and then I'll be like, this is
Mhm.
exhausting. I don't want to do this, and then I'll quit and give up. And so now most of my social media, like I had a fan yesterday say, like, found you on TikTok. And I was like, I haven't posted there in like 6 months. I haven't I'm lazy with it, man. Really lazy. It's an indictment. It's like I wish I could be motivated to stick with it and do it long term, because I think it is brand building. But at the same time, I'm just lazy. I'm so lazy.
Yeah. There's this podcast I listen to called Search Engine, and it's hosted by this guy named PJ. It's PJ Voigt or PJ Vote. I can't remember which, but
Yep.
anyway, it's a really interesting podcast. A lot of like a wide range of topics, and he tackles them all pretty intelligently. There was an episode where he had a well-known sort of media pundit by the name of Ezra Klein, who is a little controversial. I'm not actually sure why because I don't know his stuff that well, but I know he's controversial. But in this particular podcast, the theme of it was like, is there a sane way to use the internet? This was like 2 years ago, so it
Yeah.
wasn't like last week, but really great tips for guys like you and I who are trying to maximize social media engagement in order to build an audience, but also at the same times, we don't want to be like, oh my God, my whole life is run by algorithms and,
Yeah.
like chasing the right hashtags and stuff, where you become more of a purveyor of engagement through social media than you become an actual artist. It was a very interesting. I'll send you the link later if
Yeah,
you want,
please
because
do that.
it
Yeah.
was. I found it, and it actually did. I mean, people speak in superlatives all the time, but it actually did change the way that I market, and it changed the way that I looked at
Yeah.
marketing, and I
Yeah,
found it
wow.
very helpful.
Yeah, I've always found marketing to be like the great bane of my attempt to be successful. I dated a girl one time, wonderful human. Didn't work out because of various issues, but she was a marketing strategist in real life. And she had this like innate ability to just see everything as marketing. Like she could market anything. It was brilliant. And I did not have that gift at all. At all, though.
No, I'm the same. I'm the same. I don't have a natural inclination. I like. I sometimes come up with fun ideas, but as I have gotten older, I've come to realize that fun ideas are really more about me having a good time than they are about effective marketing.
That's
So it's not as,
yes. That's how I do it now. So, I like in my life now. I kind of just go with the flow. I mean, I call it Zen, but that's probably cultural appropriation at this point. But the point I think is just to say, I go with the river. The Eastern teaching of the Tao: follow the way. Just let the river take
okay.
you. Right. I really live by that in my life. It's like I'm like the yes man from the movie, right, with Jim Carrey.
Yep.
I just go with the flow, like, and I don't overthink things now. I used to overthink and think, oh, why wasn't there 20 people at my show this time? Why was there only 7? What did I do wrong? And I'd analyze and overthink, and then I thought to myself, maybe people are fucking busy, you nerd. Maybe people have got lives. Maybe it's not about you. Just relax, man. Have a coffee, have a donut, chill out, and that's how I
And
live now.
and even more so, like, you know what, just get the next one. Like
Yeah.
the next show will be the one. You hit things where I've had this both in real life and Second Life, where you show up and there's literally more people on the stage than there are in the audience,
Yep.
and like it's okay. Like you can't lose. I read this thing that was so interesting, that was basically describing. It was a different thing, but it applies. So I will sort of translate it over. Where your shows, you can't think of them each one as a monument, but you got to think of them as paving stones.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is you're putting one down, and then the next one, and then the next one, and you can't spend your time over focusing on one, because you've got to keep putting them down. Otherwise, the
Yeah,
path doesn't
that's
happen.
so
Right?
wise. Yeah, that's really good. So I met you playing at Nevermore, I believe, and
Right.
you were after me. And you gave me some great advice. Thank you for that, by the way. I read that note card. I
You're
took it
welcome.
on board, and I saw the logic of what you were saying, and I thought about it critically, and I was like, oh, I can see that. I can absolutely see that. Yeah, and so that's a great bit of wisdom you gave me. But you're in a band, right? So you're in a band, and it says I'm with a band above your head right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, tell us about your band.
Okay, well, I when I say I'm in a band, it is really pushing the definition
Right.
of the word band in the worst way. But
Are the
the
members
reason,
imaginary? Are they imaginary, Joel? Do you have imaginary friends?
I'm not gonna divulge which ones are just people that I've hallucinated.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that, like, because in Second Life, what I do is I bring. This is just my thing. I'm not prescribing this for others, but what I do is I like to. I really relate mainly to a full band sound. So I'm not really, I can do it like a solo acoustic guitar vocal thing. It's just not my forte.
Yeah.
And there are people for whom it is their gift.
Yeah.
And so I feel like a third-rate acoustic singer sitting next to guys like you, or Twin Ghost, or
Twin
there's a
Ghost.
whole bunch of Twin is
I heard
just
Twin, and I wanted to
amazing.
smash my guitar. I was like, "How dare
I
I
know.
perform?"
I know.
What
What a
what
guy.
a performer, man! Wow,
He is.
his
He is
vocals,
amazing.
dude. His ability to master. He controls his guitar like a
He's so
god
good.
of the
He is.
universe. He has absolute
Absolutely.
control over it. But yeah, keep going. Sorry.
No. I feel the same way. I absolutely do. And he's a great guy too.
Yeah.
We get along really well. But for me to do so I don't do acoustic and voice. So I just kind of try to make sure that I present as a band in Second Life. So I will say like, "Hi, my name is Joel. My band is called Red Heaven, and
Yes.
the band is
Yes.
called Red Heaven." But really, it's more of Red Heaven is a thing where like I basically write everything and create things, but when I'm doing my albums, what I do is I bring in professional musicians. So I'll bring in like
Session level guys.
that's right, session
Yep.
level guys to do the stuff that I can't do, especially
Yep.
drums
Yep.
and backup vocals. So like actually, funny enough, Second Life has, and I can't tell you how grateful I am for this. Have connected me with singers like
Yep.
Lorene Aldrin
Yep.
and Liz Day, who have
Yep.
sung from my. And I mean, those of you who have heard either of them singing on my tracks will. I know you'll agree that that is really something special. So I bring those guys in. So what you're hearing is a full band sound, and obviously I can't play as a full band when I'm doing my thing in Second Life, but I play live guitar and I sing and that sort of thing. But I use the tracks that we made. So even though I'm not playing it live, it's still me playing it, or it's the people in my band who are playing.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. Yeah, I think there's amazing musicians I've met all over SL. And for those of you who don't know, a session level musician is basically when we're making an album, we get professional musicians who don't necessarily write songs, but their main thing there is they're here to just play a part perfectly for us. You know, what do you think of people using AI not to create their songs or fake it and just create new music out of nothing, but to get AI to create that bass stem or get AI to create that drum track, you know? What do you think about that? Do you feel like it's still just as bad as like just typing in a one sentence prompt and spitting out nonsense, or do you think that there is room for a musician to say, I might get Suno to make this bass line for me? Controversial.
Well, I think, yeah, no, it is. And as it happens, I do have an opinion about that.
Yep.
So, seeing as you asked, what I feel about that is there are a number of, for lack of a better way of saying it, gates you have to pass through logically, and you have to be honest with yourself. The first thing you have to do is just reconcile with yourself with the fact that like your drum track or whatever you're making is basically just emptied a lake somewhere. So you have to be okay with that first. But
Yeah.
if you get past that, you also have to not lie to yourself about the fact that you're not creating anything, right? You are reusing something, somebody else did something and you are borrowing it. And there's no, I'm sorry, but there's no logical way around that where people say like it's this, it's that, it's an original thing. It's not original. When you're
Yep.
using anything from
Composite.
Suno, you are
Yep.
using, and you are using material that was not given
Oh,
freely.
are we going to get a region restart in the middle of the podcast?
Looks like we are.
That's nonsense, guys. You know what? If it restarts, we'll click that yellow box and we'll keep the audio going, so you'll hear the audio constantly. But we'll quickly fire it back up and sit back down.
Why don't we wait. Let's go to the cafe. Hang on. I got a cafe I'm going to teleport
You
you
want to?
to.
You want to? Well, we're going to do a rare occasion where we switch locations. Here we go.
Yeah, we're on
Yep.
roundabout or walkabout.
Yep.
And here, I'll bring you in here to this place. Is it gone? Better not be.
All right, we're going to get up, folks.
Yes,
We're gonna walk over here, and I've got the newspaper in my hand.
Okay.
Wait for my TP here.
Yeah, it's coming. Hang on. Hang in there. Here I'm looking for cafes, and it's like nude beach. Okay, wait, no, I don't want that. Hang on.
There we go.
Okay, here we are.
You got me a TP?
It's coming. It's getting in position. Okay, and here we go.
All right, sweet. Here we go. Maybe I should start
So-
doing on location. Maybe I should transport my
Well, it doesn't
table
hurt,
around
right?
the grid. Yeah. Where are we? Oh, I see. Let me turn. Let me turn some of that ambience down. Oh, that's nice rain. Here we
If
go.
you're in if you're listening to this on YouTube, like, are people going to see this on YouTube?
They are. They're gonna see this on
Okay.
YouTube. So I'm just gonna adjust my seat because I can't be sitting like that. That's not gonna happen.
Right, right, right.
All right, we're
You
gonna.
know what? Sit in one of the chairs next to me, and then you can get like the man pose.
Oh, true. Here we go. I'm gonna sit here.
Otherwise, you're just the
Gotta get rid
couch
of this
thinks you're my
paper.
girlfriend no matter what.
This paper's on me. I can't get rid of this newspaper. You know what? Just ignore the newspaper,
Oh,
guys.
you know
You
what
know.
though? In my
Single
viewer, the
six.
newspaper's gone.
Oh, that's good. It's not on
So
mine
at
though.
least there's that.
Yeah,
No,
mail
apparently not.
5. Whoops. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. That's a good sit. There we go.
All right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is kind of how I sit, like that man spreading right
Yep.
there.
Yep. That's
That's how I do
fun.
it.
What were we talking
So,
about
okay,
a second ago? We were on something.
AI. We're talking about
That's
AI.
right. Suno. Yeah. Yeah. True. The
So,
controversial.
right. What I will say is that if you are going to if you're okay with the ecological impact and moving on, are you okay with the ethical impact, which
Yeah.
is using material that was not given willingly and was not given knowingly, and yet was taken and reconstituted outside of the boundaries of the license so that you can sell it back to people? If you're okay with that, then moving on to the next part, you have to be honest with yourself about the fact that you didn't compose anything. Right. And one of the things that I actually posted a reel about this, not that anybody watches those, but I posted a reel about this in which I sort of described, like, people call Suno, or they call AI, a tool. And it's not a tool, because a tool like a hammer or a chisel or a screwdriver or whatever it is that you're using, a tool requires you to know something. Like, to use a hammer, you have to know something, right?
Yep.
Like, you're still working, right?
Yep.
What you're using is an automator. It's like a dishwasher where you put your dishes in, you punch a couple buttons, but like, you didn't wash the dishes just because you clicked a few buttons
What
and hit
about
go,
what
right?
about if you record a crappy bass line on a really cheap bass, and then you feed that exact thing into Suno and you ask it to carbon copy it, and it spits out a high quality, good bass line of your own composition, but it's AI created. What do you think about that?
Well, there's another thing that I'm going to touch on in a moment, but what I will say is that I am sometimes taken aback by the extreme hard work and contortion that goes on so people can avoid simply having to learn something and do the work. Like,
Or buy a
you
good
can
bass, for
actually,
example. Buy a good bass
like,
and
buy
put
a
a
good base,
decent
or like,
plug in on it. Yeah.
yeah, or like, just you learn, like you can honestly, for most of the time, you can take $120 bass, and you can, as long as you got your compressor and your
Yeah.
EQ stuff
A few
together, you
VSTs and
can,
you're good. Yeah.
yeah, you have something. I mean, maybe not like world class, but like, for most
Good enough.
tracks, it's
Yeah.
it's usable, right?
I use my acoustic
Wha-
guitar for my bass. I literally just
yeah,
use my
that's fine.
acoustic guitar, and then I just like suck the mids and highs out of it. You know. Yeah, yeah, it works. Yeah,
And
I
why
clean it
not,
up a
right?
little bit, clean up the muddiness, but yeah, that's all I do.
Mhm.
But this is such a fascinating conversation, and but also I wanna also say that, hey, if you're out there right now and you're just like, you're just a mum from Idaho and you're enjoying kind of giving Suno prompts, and you're getting like your poetry given back to you in song form, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, go with God, enjoy that. We're more talking about at the Spotify level, at the iTunes level here. This is me
Right.
and Joel talking about as an artist who releases studio albums, what's appropriate. We're not addressing the AI as a tool for you to express yourself at all. So that too, I think.
I will, yeah. I want to make people aware of something else too that's kind of important. And this is a topic that's in flux. So I don't have, and it's changing fast, right? So I don't have all the details. But what I can tell you is that I know Udio, Suno may be doing this soon, or are already doing it. I know that Udio, what it does is it basically tags whatever it outputs for you as content that it's created.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
if, so for instance, like, if it gives you something that's got a melody, even if you throw away the audio recording and you re-record it yourself with your
yeah.
own instruments,
It still
that
flags it.
material is tagged. And what it does is it positions Udio to take part of your profits and part of
Yes.
the income and
Yep.
from the license.
That's right.
And if you get stung by a copyright notice, or you get stung by, say, a lawsuit for, like, so, let's say, for whatever reason, your UDO produced track sells a bazillion copies, and it becomes clear there's copyright infringement. The terms of use puts you in a position where you're responsible. It bypasses UDO completely. You're the one who goes to court,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so Suno, I know that there's some stuff that they say, like, your material that you generate is yours to use, but there are a wide range of loopholes
Yep.
in which they can say it's yours to use, but we'll take the money, or we'll
Yep.
take part of it. Or if you get sued, like, you're in trouble, like that kind of thing. So I honestly, neither of those companies, in fact, none of the companies that I know that are doing generative AI right now are your friend. They are looking to create a situation where they're using whatever it is that you create. They see that as theirs as well. They
Yeah,
don't
plus
see
you're
it as
not
your
gonna.
property.
Plus, another part of it is like you can make an argument that if I was to feed one of my songs into like Suno and it was to kind of create my own music back for me, you could argue that it would sound like commercially better, right? Like you can argue that like it's a cleaner, more radio friendly sound. But if you listen to my songs, like if you listen to a song like Pretender to the Throne or something on Spotify, there's an authenticity into the way I mix, right? Because the way I mix, the way I produce is uniquely Sam, and it sounds different to the way Joel does it. And the fans that love our music, they love it because of that, you know? It's like
Sure.
there's a warm melancholy vibe to the way I produce that it would not be there if I was to go to say Bieber's studio and record an album with him. You know, it would lose that magic because of the over commercialized, over produced standards that they have in the industry, right? So I think
Sure.
that's important too. It's like I don't use AI in my production mostly because of that, but also I kind of agree with you that there's there's a cheat code happening. It's like I'm not willing to work hard and learn production and do my best to try and produce this thing that I've created. I'm just going to use a cheat code to kind of make myself sound like I belong on the Billboard 100, but that's not really real, you know? Like you're just going to end up like a carbon copy. You're basically going to be a Timu Kid Leroy. Like it's not really healthy for you to do that to yourself, you know? And everyone's going to know too. Like if you think no one can
Everyone's
tell,
gonna know.
yeah, like if you think no one can tell that your albums, like, okay, certain songs of mine do sound commercialized, but that's because I've bought the rights to music that producers have made. Like, for example, I have a song called Underdog, and the music to Underdog was made by a hip hop producer. But they still made every part of that music, right? And I'm simply using the stems as a backing track, right? So it's kind of like working in the studio with a hip hop producer who's creating the music with you. But and so I do have that sound on some of my albums, but it's still authentic because it was made by a real person. Actually, it was made by an Italian producer, an amazing, very talented guy who has done a lot of cool stuff with me.
Well, I think it's important. Oh, go ahead. Please go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, do you outsource production sometimes? Do you reach out to producers and say, let's make something?
No,
Or
but
yourself?
I do outsource to engineers. I have a very I'm extremely lucky because I am friends with some highly talented people who can do it right. So, for instance, good friend of mine, one of my lifelong friends, happens to also be like a national class drummer, right? And so when he gives me drum tracks, like they are recorded just fine, you know. And I have another friend who lives in California, and he has done a lot of engineering work, like tons of engineering work for me. And he's one, like, it sounds so terrific. And most importantly, it sounds like something I want to hear, where he hands me something and I think, like, that's the drum sound I always wanted, but I couldn't do myself. So I don't,
Yes.
I find that I don't, it's not that I don't collaborate with other producers
Yeah.
very well, but I find that it's very hard. This is only, I think, mostly a
You have a
matter of
vision.
just finding somebody, but like I do have sort of a niche
vision.
that is
Yeah, I
very
think.
unique.
Yeah.
And so there are other people who do it, just not as many.
Yeah. For
That's
me,
all,
it's
I
hip hop.
guess.
So I cannot. I mean, I can, but it wouldn't be very good. I cannot produce hip hop. I just don't have the ear for it. Like I could make a basic. I think the song. I think a few of them I did produce myself on my first album, but they're not up to par. And so whenever I do, because I have a thing where I do multi genres. I'll do like indie
Yes, you
folk. I'll
do.
do country. I'll do hip hop. Whenever I do hip hop, I always outsource the production because I cannot make those bangers. I can do guitar, bass lines, piano, drums, bongos. I can build an indie folk song, sure. That's my bread and butter. But not. I can't do the hip hop stuff. No, I can't make a Kanye
You know what?
track.
When I was getting back into music, so in late 2010, I really decided I was going to lean into it, and that's a story of its own. But I kind of had to make a decision at that point. Am I going to do like the rocks, like the stuff you know me for, the rock stuff, or am I going to do like electronic, um, EDM, that
Yeah,
sort of
okay.
stuff, ambient stuff?
I can't imagine you doing EDM. I can't
Well,
imagine
not
Red
not
Heaven. Have you got
well,
stuff like that online, like an EDM
no,
track?
no, I only very little. But I had to make a decision to lean into one or the other,
Yeah, okay.
and that I basically said, like I'm not going to be able to do both. No
Yeah,
matter how much I
yeah,
want
yeah,
to, I
yeah,
have to. And like for instance, I am a huge lover of hip hop. I'm a huge lover of big band
yeah,
music. And but I mean, like I can't do it, and I
yeah,
don't like that was actually part of my maturation as an artist, was just coming to the realization that like you don't have to do everything. So you're
yeah.
allowed to do whatever you want, but when it comes time to bringing letting other people hear you, like focus on something and try to be good at it.
Yeah, yeah. I did a heavy metal song once. Bad Guy, I believe it was. It's about
Okay.
SL Rumors. But it's like it was very interesting. So I recorded that song, and it was my first and only time ever doing metal, and it's got elements of hip hop in it, but it's mostly like heavy rock. And I
Right.
blew my voice out and couldn't sing for 2 weeks
Oh
after I
no.
recorded that song. Like completely destroyed my voice trying to sing that chorus. And yeah, it was interesting. I'm never gonna do a song like that again, I think. And a metal singer hearing this would be like, well, that's because you weren't doing it right, idiot. Right? You weren't singing right. If you're blowing your voice out, you're not doing it correct.
Yeah, I did a song. I did an album called Meanwhile, which was all cover songs.
Yep.
And one of the songs I did was "Where Did You Sleep Last Night," the old Lead Belly song that has been
Yep.
covered 1,000 times. But I love it. And I remember doing the last verse where I really just like forced it out. But it sounded great,
Yep.
but like I'll never be able to do it live because
Yep.
I did that and then I was out for
I'm
like 2 days.
I've never done a cover professionally released on Spotify and things like that. But this next album, it's actually gonna be my first live album. I'm recording completely in
Okay,
SL. But I've
awesome.
decided to do a cover for that particular
What a cool
album.
idea.
Yeah, I've
Mhm.
decided to do a cover for it, and that cover will be
Mhm.
"Round Here" by Counting Crows. So
Oh, I love that
yeah, I know.
song.
And so I've been working on this version of that song for a while now, trying to get it the way I want
That's
it.
cool.
And yeah, I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to
you'd
it.
be great at that. You'd
I'm
be
gonna
great at
try
that.
it.
That album is so special. I
Hmm.
really love it.
Well, what annoys me about Counting Crows is they got that one song that everyone loves, but like
Mhm.
it's their worst song. Like it's real. Like people who love Counting Crows know it's like their worst song. Put up a parking lot, pop up. You know what I mean? That song I'm
Oh,
talking about.
yeah, I thought you meant Mr. Jones
No, no,
when you
Mr.
said like
Jones is
that
a
one song.
classic. No, no,
It is. I was
I'm
gonna say
talking
like,
about.
oh, I kind of
Yeah,
like
no,
it.
no, no.
You're
I'm
talking
talking
about
about
Big
their
Yellow
radio
Taxi.
hit. Yeah, I'm talking about their
Yeah.
radio plastic song that no real fan loves that much. We're all fans of the other stuff like Mr. Jones, right? Like those songs. Those songs are like, that's how Counting Crows sounds. I don't know what the hell they were thinking with that other song. You know, where they just thought
You
they'd
know that
make. Yeah.
I am powerless to resist Counting Crows song "Hanging Around." You
Yeah.
know that one?
Mm.
I am like, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I could be folding laundry, I could be in the shower, I
Yep.
could be washing dishes, I can drive down the road. When that comes on, I'm like,
Yeah.
I've been hanging around. Like I
Have you
cannot stop myself from jumping in on it.
have you heard of this dude called Shabuzi?
I've heard of it, but I don't know him.
Dude,
I have
Shaboozey.
heard of him.
So you
Yeah.
know how like Eminem is like arguably the greatest rapper of all time, which is really
Sure, arguably.
yeah, which is really strange considering he's a white guy in an African American dominated culture and
Right.
music genre. Well, Shaboozey is the flip side of that. He's this African American guy, and he sings indie folk better than
Okay.
any indie folk I have ever heard. This guy is
Ah,
a
I love
indie.
it.
It's amazing. It's like he's the Eminem of the indie folk world in that he's like he's not a white boy from Minnesota.
Fish out of
He's
water.
not,
Right.
he's this
Mhm.
African American guy with roots to African American culture even, and then he sings indie folk better than anyone doing it right now. And I'm obsessed
Well,
with Shaboozey at the moment.
and what
Even his
that
name,
tells
right?
us, like what that tells us is that the boundaries between racial
Yeah.
like categories are really, they're just arbitrary, right?
Well, they are, yeah.
Like these are just things that, you know,
It's culture
like
is what it
I
is. People, you know, they play baseball because they grow up in a certain culture. You know, they play football.
sure.
It's the same thing. It's like you don't
Hmm.
have to play those sports, but you do because your brothers do and their brothers do, and everyone's, you know, it's like you just grow up in it, and then you like think, well, this is what I have to do. And it's like, no, you could choose to play tennis. You know, your
Well,
friends might think you're weird, but
there's also a excuse me, like there's an industry sort of constraints if you're operating within those parameters where, you know, if you're black, you're not they're not going to sign you to do certain kinds of music, right?
yeah, that's
And
true. But that's an
there's no way to
old
get
world
around
thing,
that.
right? Like that's
it
the
it
whole
absolutely
label
is. I
thing.
mean, there are people who go outside of it, but like
Yeah,
I said, that's the thing. If you're going within the industry, then that's a thing that you got to
yeah.
deal with. But like I said, completely arbitrary because, you know, folk music is, I mean, a lot of this, our musical traditions as white people are, they're thin traces now, but they can be all of that stuff can be traced back to Africa,
Mhm.
and not, it's not even hard to do,
Yeah, not
right?
unless you're doing
So
like
people,
Gregorian chants or something, right? Like it's like,
right,
well,
but
what
like
is
how often do you
European
hear,
music? Yeah,
how often do
exactly.
you hear Gregorian
Well,
chants,
metal
Sam?
probably, but even then, so not often. Maybe in like German metal or something, but basically, it's like
Maybe,
what
but
is yeah,
metal takes more from blues than it takes
it does.
from like
Especially new
you
metal,
know.
like new metal, yeah,
Mhm.
like for sure. I think like people ask like what is European music, and it's like actually it's just like really boring, you know, like monk chants and stuff. You're like, oh, you know, weird music that no one really plays today. You know, like Mozart, I guess maybe, but like modern music is made of. I would say modern music is similar to the English language. It's a combination of many different languages that have been kind of stapled together to create this new thing. And modern music is a new thing that pulls from every culture on the face of the earth. I mean, you hear some bands and you can hear Mongolian rhythms in there. You can hear like semitones from Mongolian music. You know, you can hear like Arabian stuff in there. And it's like all these different ideas come together into the artist's mind based on the stuff that they've grown up listening to, the stuff that they've been influenced by. Like
Sure.
my influences are Bob Dylan, really. That's who made me want to be a songwriter. Is Bob
Hmm.
Dylan's old folk music. I was like, I want to do whatever he's doing. I want to do that, you know.
You know what's funny is that actually circles around to the AI conversation a little bit,
Yep.
because what I realize is that if you are if you're doing Sabrina Carpenter type music, and I like Sabrina
Yeah.
Carpenter, so
Go
I'm not
Sabrina.
putting shade on that,
Shout out to
but
Sabrina.
if you're doing Sabrina Carpenter type music, then you're never going to beat AI at your game. They're always going to be able to do it,
Not
because
unless
the
you
thing
have
about,
access to $1 million studio. Like if you've got access to the right studio and
I
the right produ-
disagree.
no?
Even with that, like AI is going to create something that can sit right next to it
Yep.
or do it better,
Yep.
and you'll never beat AI that way, because the whole structure of it, and I'm a fan. I'm not speaking like, I'm not trying to bring shade. Like this is, but if that's that music, that sort of pop thing that like Sabrina Carpenter does, it's all mathematical. It's all in a
Yep.
grid. It's formula,
And the
right? And the
marketing
music
machine
itself,
too, you know.
and the music itself is built for the purpose
Yep.
of being sold like a product, right?
Yep.
And so people say like, well, how are musicians going to survive if AI can do that? The way that
Well,
musicians are going to survive is by creating music that falls outside of those parameters. So, for
yeah.
instance, there is music all over the world that is not does not exist for the purpose of being commoditized and sold
Hmm.
the same way you sell
Well,
Pepsi or
most of it,
refrigerators or whatever.
most of it isn't.
Sure,
Yeah,
absolutely. And historically, that's been the case too.
yeah.
And to create music that does not use the same form. So if you are willing to go outside of like verse, chorus, or you're willing to go outside of, this the regular kinds of instrumentation or the tempos of BPMs or the length of the song, if you are a person who can create music that way, AI won't be able to track it because the best thing that AI can do is average out what's been done
Yep.
and predict what would be likely, and it cannot keep up with something
No.
that hasn't been thought of before.
No, but also there's a lot of misconceptions. Like, okay, so I would agree with you, and also add this: the music industry is not Sabrina Carpenter and Ed Sheeran. Like, that's like saying the food industry is Gordon Ramsay. It's like, no, that's not even close to true or accurate. The music industry is 400,000 hungry musicians who travel around the country daily, that drive 7 hours to some bar somewhere in Minnesota, and they get paid $800 to play a show that night. Then they leave, pack it up, and go to the next town. And they're average people, and that's their average job, and they make about 60, 70,000 a year. They make a living, right? That's the music industry, and you're looking at the very top brick of a very big pyramid, and you're saying that's the music industry. It's like, no, that's not the music industry. Sabrina Carpenter, Ed Sheeran, Lewis Capaldi, these are the anomalies at the very top that the marketing machine gives you on your radio stations. But go to your local coffee shop. Go to your local bar. You're going to meet Steven, who's been playing music for 10 years. He's really good. And he's never going to be on the billboard because he's not doing it to be on the billboard. He's doing it because the same way you go to work as a plumber, he goes to work as a musician. He's a bard of
Mhm.
the modern world, and this is what he does. That's what I do. I'm not aiming to be a top brick on the pyramid. I'm a bread and butter musician. I play shows for folks and I entertain them. Some of them are nurses. They've had 12-hour shifts at work. They're tired, they're exhausted, and they just want a little bit of peace where they listen to Sam wail on his guitar for a while. That's what the music industry is, right? So
I think you got the right idea. I think you got the wrong terminology because when you're using the term industry, what you're basically talking about is the management of a commercial product, right?
right,
So
true.
you're talking about like mobilizing that to certain markets and on certain dates and
Right.
leveraging certain kinds of commercial advantages or disadvantages to
Right.
maximize
So
profits in
there's an
certain segments.
industrial machine to that
That
sort of
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
that's the industry. So like no matter how often Chuck from Minneapolis drives to the local coffee house and does an amazing job, which I'm sure Chuck would,
Yeah.
at the
Shout
same
out, Chuck.
time, you're never gonna hear him on the radio.
No.
I have the lyrics of at least two Sabrina Carpenter songs memorized and probably more Taylor Swift songs. And I
Yeah.
didn't ask for that. It's just ambient. I just
Yeah.
pick it up, right?
Yeah.
And so the when I say like you will not be able to beat AI within the music industry,
Yeah.
within that machine
Yeah.
that is leveraging commodity and is creating sellable product, you're not going to beat
Yeah.
AI on that. But
How
if
would you
you
word
are
it?
adventuring,
Like
how would I word it?
what I
I
said,
would
like how
say
would you word that? Like music culture, maybe?
that it's simply the awareness that music exists beyond the parameters of what's
Of that
consumed,
machine.
right?
Of that machine, yeah. Well, that
Of the
machine's
machine. And
new,
I
right? That machine's only about at 90 years old, right?
okay,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. So
A
so
little
for the
more, but
past
yeah, you're about right.
Yeah, so the past 10,000 years, right? We've
Yeah.
all been doing what Chuck does, right? But all of a sudden, 100 years ago, we've got this machine now that pumps it out, thanks to
There's this
electricity.
really there's this really interesting thing and like there's good in it, right?
Yeah,
So I'm
of
not saying
course.
like we
Of
should have
course.
thrown this away, but I think there's something really interesting, which is that there was a time, so like we'll go back like 100 years, 110 years, maybe a little more, where if you wanted to hear music in your home, like you
Yeah.
have to learn how to play the piano and you have
Yeah.
to have a
You
piano
have
in
to
the
have
house.
someone to play
And
piano. We all gather around the piano and listen to the
and you all gather
person.
around and play it. And like, I mean, I don't really want to do that most of the time, but the thing
No.
is that is a time when, and then when you get into a
Yes.
situation where you're listening to the
Hmm.
radio can replace the piano, which means that
Yep.
it means
Yep.
you are no longer a creator,
Plus,
right?
there's also a stigma of if I've got the radio on, I can have a beer with my friends, we can hang out, we can chat. That's great. But if there's a musician there, there's this kind of pull where we feel like I wouldn't call, maybe it's some of it's an obligation, maybe some of it's a desire, but we have to focus on that musician then. We're no longer just hanging out and talking to each other. We're all looking at the piano player. We're looking at the artist. When you go to a show at a pub, you'll notice that probably 10-15% of the crowd are just staring at the band most of the time. And whereas the
Yeah.
radio takes that away and says, no, no, we're just background filler, which is, what music is now with the radio, and it's background filler while you can talk to your friends. And with Sabrina, it's like, I will say this: I want to take nothing away from her because everything she's done with her life is 1,000 times more successful than anything I could ever do. Right? So, and she
On a
knows that.
certain
Right?
metric, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, there's such an emptiness to it. There is such I wouldn't say inauthenticity. I would say there's no real connection there that I feel when I listen to Sabrina or Taylor Swift. When I go to my coffee shop and I hear some 24-year-old playing songs from his first album and they're about his story and his life, and even though Taylor Swift's songs are about her life, right? They're not made by AI, they're
I
about
get it.
her,
I get
but
it.
I'm
Yeah.
not connected to her because the mirror neurons in my brain, which are responsible for compassion, which are responsible for empathy and putting myself in other people's shoes, I can't do that with Taylor Swift, but I can do that with the guy at the coffee shop. And I'm able to really experience his music in a deeper way, I think, which is why niche musicians have the most hardcore fans, right? It's like
That's right.
they find these people at shows that they go to, and the people just like connect to the music in a real way, you know?
Well,
Yeah.
there's something I would also say that is an unfortunate byproduct of the commercialization of music. The part where, at one point, once people realized that we could record it and then we could sell it as a product in the
Yeah.
same way that we sell, loaves of bread or butter knives or whatever. I don't know why I'm stuck in the kitchen, but like if you think about like so for instance, the music tradition of Ghana, okay, which is obviously it's mitigated somewhat by an enormous amount of cultural imperialism, but let's just say, in broad strokes, the musical tradition of Ghana is that the community comes together and they play together,
Yep.
right? So there isn't this idea that you come and you listen and they're performing for you, and you are auditioning them. You're like, I like them or I don't like them. You are part
Mm.
of it, and so much so that in that cultural context, if you say I don't like this song, like nobody takes that seriously because their first question back to you is why didn't you do something to make it a better song then,
Yeah.
right? So there is a there
Man, that's
is a
such a cultural
connection.
shift. Wow.
Truly, it's a really huge
Wow.
mindset, but the thing that is we have forgotten that's music
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where like you
Do you
sing
think?
with people and sometimes you're doing it for entertainment and sometimes you're
Yeah.
doing it for ceremony and sometimes you're doing it for other reasons, but like that I love the idea of a piano in the home where like the family gathers and sings together, where they're all creating. And what's great about it is they're not comparing themselves to like mega stars. They're just saying, I like singing, and it's just there.
Do you
But
think?
the commercial apparatus that has made music into a sellable product has created a mindset where people say, oh, I'm not a good singer, or I could
Yeah.
never
Well,
do
it's
that.
hard. It's
And
like it's like a girl who feels like she's ugly because she looks on the TV and sees, solid tens in every TV show. It's like it creates a false image, I think, it's not realistic. It's like yeah, the casting director of that particular show specifically chose the best looking people commercially he could possibly find for that show, right? What's the channel that is bad for this? There's like a CS or something.
you are asking the wrong guy, but
What's the
go
what's
ahead.
the show CS or something that
Man,
makes all these
I
shows with
honestly
gorgeous
can't tell you.
people? Yeah, it's unfair, but like I think this all started. And tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think this all
Okay.
started. This commercial machine thing started in Europe with the great composers, where people would come out to the stadium, they'd come out to the theater, and they would all sit in the seats and watch these great composers perform. You know, the ones that we Beethoven, Mozart, Bach, and all these kind of guys. That's where I think it started. Like this commercial, these are the artists, these are the famous ones. Whereas back in the day, it was a bard, it was like a traveling storyteller, or, you know, in other cultures, like you said, it's like this combined thing that the culture, the community does together, you know? But now it's like this spectacle, you know? You know?
I think really like there at that time you were still in a position where like music couldn't be commodified because even though you would have and a lot of those composers were not recognized as being particularly great in their lifetime anyway, but
Really
the
fascinating.
thing yeah, some of them, yes, some and some not as much, right? But what I would say is that you're still, even in the time of say like Mozart, you're still in a position where like you can't just have music on tap unless you can make it, right? So
Yeah.
unless you can sit down at a piano or pick up a violin, if you want to hear music, you got to wait until it's being presented somewhere.
Yeah.
Whereas like we're in a position now where music is so ubiquitous that it is one of the easiest products to access where you can at any like every device you own can put music in your ears, right? Even some stuff where you're kind of like,
Yeah.
why does that do it? But like,
You, I mean,
I think it's the
you might be
yeah,
the
it's the
smartest guest
recording.
I've had on the podcast. You really might
Oh,
be.
yeah, that's a low
Your
bar, but
knowledge is so robust, and like you seem to have like a broad overview of what's going on. I think it's really nice and refreshing to hear.
well, I did. I mean, I find it interesting, right? Because as a musician, what happens is you start if you start doing a deep dive, you start to say like, what's the best kind of music? Like what, and not just like how do I get better, which is part of it, but you also say like, what's the best expression of music? What's the purest way, or what's the most authentic way? And this has led me through some discovery sort of for me right now. I'm thinking more about music from a community level. Once we got into a place, and I'm not saying it's bad because I love my music collection, but once we got into a place where we were recording it, we could package it. Then what happened is we entered into a situation where it, it
Yeah.
people who have a lot of money make more money from music if you are thoroughly convinced that you could never do it yourself without
Mm-hmm.
them,
Yep.
right? And so people don't pick up a guitar or start
Yeah.
playing a piano or a violin or a flute or whatever, or just
Yeah.
singing. But like
Well, what are they
my
aiming
personal
at?
belief is like, well, what they're all they're doing is they're just making more money, right?
Well,
Like that's the thing.
but I mean, the people who don't do it, it's like, oh man, that's such a toxic way to think. Like if you
It
avoid
truly it
music
is.
because you don't see yourself being famous, you miss the
Right.
point, man. Like what?
Mhm.
No, like you should
But that is
no.
the industry that sells us music loves that we think that way,
Yeah.
right? Because imagine how much fun you could have
God,
if
I'd
you and your
quit
buddies get
tomorrow.
together. Oh, no, absolutely. If you and your buddies get together and one of you's got a guitar, one of you's got like some like a
Yeah.
conga or something, and you guys were just fine.
Just jamming.
Like when I
Yeah.
that picture I keep drawing of like the family around the piano,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, you
there's
can
no
picture
way
it,
to
right? Victorian England,
there's no
everyone's
way,
gathered.
yeah. And there's no way to sell that. There's no way to monetize that,
Yeah.
right? And so, of course, that's not what they're going to lean into.
Yeah.
But that is, I think, really so healthy and wonderful for us. This actually leads me back very much to what I love about Second Life music, which is
Oh,
like you do your thing, I do my thing. But you know what? Like a single mom who used to play music like guitar in high school, and now she's got a few kids and she can't really get out of the house, and she doesn't feel as special as she once did because she, or for whatever reason. Not that I'm saying she shouldn't, but this is how kind of the traps that people fall into, and she hasn't been able to play music because why bother. She can get on Second Life with her acoustic guitar, and for an hour she can have she can have a
mm.
little bit of a
I know
following, and
people
she can
like
make a
that.
little bit of money. I do
I know
too,
people
and
like
it's
that. Then if
wonderful.
they were just if they were discovered when they were like 17, they would be famous by now because they're like there's this one girl, she used to sing in SL. I don't think she does anymore. Her voice was
Who was
so
that?
unique and haunting. Ryan. Her voice was so unique and haunting that I would listen to her and think, oh, she should be famous.
Yeah.
But then getting to know her, you hear her story that, life just took her a different path, and
Yeah, as
she's
it
just
happens,
normal
right?
like me and you now, right? She's a normal person.
Right.
But it's like she just was, the right talent scout never heard her when she was coming up.
Well, but also think of it this way, like she didn't have to be famous. Like
No,
the thing is
no.
just having the opportunity to play for the
Hmm.
community and to share, it's beautiful, man.
Yeah,
Like that's one of the reasons why I think Second Life is one of the great music resources or the music treasures of the
yeah.
world that people don't know anything about. Where like an
Oh,
ordinary person doesn't have to
kidding
be
me?
exceptional. They can just
Can
come in
can you
and
imagine?
play and it's great.
Can you imagine if the world knew? Because I'm pretty sure the SL marketing team is just 70 monkeys in a room throwing their own poo at the wall. It's
Yeah,
uneventful.
I'm
Yeah,
kind of with you
yeah,
on that, but
yeah.
yeah.
Can you imagine if the larger world, the music scene, we'll call it, better word than industry, if it
Mhm.
knew what SL was, we would be inundated with
Yeah.
50,000 hungry musicians keen to work, right?
And a lot of people would be coming in here trying also to figure out how to monetize it for themselves in a way
Yes,
which
and
would
and it
ruin
would
it.
destroy. Oh my God, that's so wise. Because I've often thought, how cool would it be if that happened, and then we would have an influx of new venues, an influx of new
Yeah.
musicians. On the downside, to be selfish, because I think to deny your own narcissism and selfishness is to lie to yourself. And so, in a real way, I think it would be bad because I would be overshadowed by amazing musicians who would be in here taking slots that I want, right? And that wouldn't be good for me, but it would be good for the larger scene, I think. But I've never thought about what you just said, and that is so true, that it would actually become toxic like the industry, and it
It
would,
absolutely would.
and
It
people
absolutely
like
would.
me, we would be overshadowed by people who just have a more commercial sound, I
And
guess.
they're
Yeah.
positioned by monetary interest. Like the thing is, in my case, I know I'm not the best out there. I know that
Pretty
easily. I
damn
know
good
that the
though.
best, and I'm fine with. And I appreciate that. But the thing about Second Life that I love so much is the fact, like, you don't have to be anything. Like, you just have to be willing to try it, and people are bizarrely open to it, and I think that that's beautiful. Whereas if we get into a position where like this became largely monetized, or like Sony decided like, hey, we could do something with
Yeah.
this, like
Oof.
that would be the
Oof.
end of that.
Wow.
That mom I was telling you about, who is
Or
like
the venue
that single
owners.
mom,
The venue
you'd
owners are
never hear.
real
Yeah,
people, mum and pups, and
and they'd be gone.
they'd be
Yeah,
gone. They'd be overshadowed
they'd be
by
gone. It would
Sony
never happen
opening
again.
100
Yeah.
music venues in SL.
Right. And
Ah,
interestingly,
man.
Google and Sony both tried to do a Second Life type of deal. So
Yeah, I
Google
remember. I remember. Yeah.
before Google had Play, the Play Store, they actually had a thing called Play, which was a Second Life clone. And Sony did it too, and I forget what it's called, but they both folded
Nike
immediately. And the
tried to do it
reason
too. Nike tried to do it. Yeah,
did
keep
they?
going.
Well,
Yeah.
doesn't surprise me.
They tried to make
But in
shoes
both,
and no one bought them because they're like, "Pff, we have our own. Like that's the thing about SL is we have our own high brands. We have like
yeah,
Mad
we don't
P.
need
We
to do that. That's right.
we don't need you to make stuff for us. We have our own famous shoe producers. But keep going.
And Mad P isn't a result of a mega corporation moving
No,
in and
no.
porting their product. It's just some really talented people doing some
Yep.
cool stuff
From the
and
ground up.
having ideas from
Yep.
the ground up. And like that was the thing that it's funny because recently, just like a few days ago, Meta folded their metaverse idea. They're
Yeah.
not.
Of
They
course.
basically
Yeah.
dropped it.
They should have
And
just
I felt like
made SL.
from the beginning they missed what
Yep.
makes it work, right? Because what they're
Yep.
trying to do is overlay this existence of commoditization, but the reason
They're
that
trying to
Second Life is
create
the
the
way it
world
is,
for us, not let us create it. That's the thing.
very much so, very much so.
They're trying to establish a framework. But the thing is, once upon a time, someone logged onto SL into a void and made the first prim.
That's
That's a
right.
real thing. That was a real person that did that. And everything we see, this couch, these walls, the picture frames behind me, the clothes we're wearing, there were other Sams and other Joels that made that stuff. And
That's right.
and because of that, SL has the economy of a small European country. It is its own country. SL has an economy that's something like I think last time I checked it was something like almost $1 billion economy. And that's
Interesting.
amazing that we did that. It's because the person who makes the products at MadP created a product, and Karen bought that product for a certain amount of lindens, and then she spent that money tipping a host at a show who was hosting for a DJ, and that host spent that money on a live musician she heard the next day,
Mhm.
and it just et cetera, and you end up with this
Right.
economy, this mad
And you,
economy that we all take part in, and the person I paid money to for these clothes is spending that money in SL, you know?
yeah. And I find it so interesting because in Google, and I know this is what happened. I didn't have to. I just know this is what happened. That Google, Meta, and Sony all looked at what they're doing in Second Life and thought, "Pfft, we can do that way better. We
No,
have
you
more
can't.
resources. We
No, you
have
can't.
more ability, more power." We and like they didn't say it, but they're like, "This is gonna like nobody will go on Second Life again," and they completely failed to do it
Yeah, of
because
course.
they only saw it from the perspective of harvesting data and harvesting, like
Well, there's
people
also
who are
no
involved, but like
freedom. Like if you join
there's no
SL,
freedom. That's
if
right.
you join SL tomorrow as a new player, once you get past the tutorial, the first thing you're going to encounter is the worst degenerate human beings that the world has ever created. And but here's the thing: we call it the front door of
He's
SL.
he's right, folks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when you go to like when you arrive in London City or something and you're a new player, you're gonna see like Hitler having sex with a pterodactyl. Like you're gonna see
Yep. Yep.
wild stuff. You're gonna see people. You're gonna see white boys dropping the N bomb. It's not great. It's not ideal. But that's the front door of SL. And so SL is this complete freedom place where it's like there's no way Google would allow that, or Sony, or any, like they would.
Exactly.
And if they don't allow that, they don't give us the power, because from that ugliness we create what's called the live music scene in SL. We create beauty. We create the explorer sims that people spend hours every day exploring in places like this cafe. I think we're in this adorable cafe
Yeah.
hidden in the middle of nowhere that someone's put their love into. This place is a part of that same degenerate troll sim, right? But you have to
Well, and
have
that's
it
the thing
all.
is I've always said about Second Life, and like I'm a Second Life user, but I'm not like a guy who lives my life here.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to get like, because in my profile, like I've got my real name and my photo and all that sort of thing. You can only like get so deep into so much shenanigans. But what I will say is that I've always thought, or at least very early on, I learned that whatever you bring into Second Life is what you're going to experience when you're
Yep.
here. So whatever kind of person you are,
Yep.
you're going to build that kind of world. And for some people, obviously, and there's no way to sugarcoat this, they should really be in some kind of like psychological
Yeah,
or
yeah.
mental
Some
care
some
from a
people,
professional.
well, some people
Not
just never
here.
been hit in the mouth. That's the thing too. A lot of it
Right.
too is some
There's
people have
that
just
too.
never been hit in the mouth. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And there's that John Gabriel rule of internet anonymity, which
mm,
I will link you to. But basically, you get a fool, and then you give him you give him an
give him a
anonymous
microphone.
way, and like anonymously, and like just the worst thing will happen. But the thing is that it's very much like the world around me, right? So like the people who come in to do certain things, or they're coming for to do like, there aren't a lot of people who are here to do harm, but when you have like the negative things, well, those are existing around me in my community anyway. And so when you're in Second Life, you find your community and you find your friends and you find your people. And just
Yeah.
like you in the real world, like you don't go and spend your time in places that don't,
No.
hopefully that you don't do, that don't make you feel
No,
good, right?
and
Which
well,
is
that's the
why
thing
I'm
too.
in music, so like the way I am.
Well, that's the thing too. Like when you find that front door of SL and you're like, oh my god, this is horrible. Just keep going. Like keep pushing past it. Like so, if someone was to ask me, like, what is SL like mostly? Like, if it's not the troll sims, what is it? It's people sitting in each other's lounge rooms having a conversation. It's like in the
Yes.
real world, I'll drive to a friend's house and I'll visit them for a coffee.
Hmm.
SL works the same way. You go to a friend's house, you have a coffee with
That's
them, you
right.
hang out with them in their lounge room or in their kitchen, something like that. A lot of
Yeah, I get
SL
that.
is private places, people doing fun stuff, hanging out with each other. Like SL is not that front door. That front door is a very small part that if you just meet the right people, you like introduce yourself. I am someone, say, hey, I'm Sam, what's up? and then you find yourself being ported somewhere to a party somewhere, and there's a bunch of people you don't know. You meet more people. Human connection is what drives the grid. And
Of
so
course.
sometimes a lot of people leave too. I've spoken to people who have left SL because they made a character, logged on, saw the front door, and they were like, this is disgusting. These people are just trolling, and I don't want to be here. It's like, no, you have to
Or they're
keep
here
going.
to feed certain appetites. Like I know good people who have left Second Life because they just get fed up, which I 1000% understand. I found my place because I do music the way
Yeah,
that I like, and
yeah.
that's rewarding for me. But I think probably the best way to get into Second Life is like you got to have a friend who brings you in. Like if you just come in
Yes,
on your own, it's a
yes.
steep hill, man.
Yeah, and learning. I came in on my own because, funnily enough, I just recently converted to Christianity at the time, and I didn't want to play violent video games. When you first sign up to something, you want to go all in, right? And so I didn't understand then that it's perfectly okay to play Call of Duty as a Christian. Back when I first converted, I just wanted to do the right thing no matter what, right? And so I googled non-violent video games. And the first thing that popped up, I know, because it turns out SL is the most violent video game in
It
terms
can
of
be. It has the
emotional
potential.
damage. It's like
Right.
traumatizing.
But you don't have to do that though. That's the thing is like you can't play Call of Duty without shooting somebody, but you can play Second Life without doing something horrible.
Yeah, you can. That's true. But that's how I found it. I
Yeah.
googled non-violent video games, and like the fact is, the marketing team is so bad that like most people and trying to okay, that's what a question I wanted to ask you too, is do musicians in your life like raise an eyebrow when you try to explain SL to them? Like the musicians in my life, they don't understand. Like I had a homeboy the other day telling me that he's got a gig coming up and he's really annoyed because the gigs are few and far between and he feels like the scene isn't where it used to be. And I said, bro, come on Second Life. You'd be making 40, $50 an hour, dude. Just come and do it,
Mhm.
And he's like, he doesn't believe it. He doesn't believe. He's like, wait, what? What are you doing with the what? With the cartoons and the what? It's like
Mhm.
do you find that like that weird? They think it's a weird thing that you do. Do you tell people?
I will say that it's been a little better since the pandemic because musicians really opened up to streaming in a new way, like
Yeah.
streaming live shows. A lot of people don't relate very easily to the 3D sort of avatar environment, which I understand totally.
Yeah.
But I will also say that now this might be kind of a hot take, but my experience has been that you wouldn't think this, but musicians are um, the musician community. Let me put it this way: too many people in the musician community are surprisingly closed-minded, right? About a lot of things and about what they think that it
Are you
has to
talking about
be. So if you're a
real
musician,
world? Are you talking real
yeah,
life? Yeah, okay.
yes,
Just
yes, I
I
am.
was just thinking I don't agree with that in terms of SL musicians, but yeah, I just wanted to make
No.
sure you talk about real life.
Yeah, and so they're kind of like, well, success looks like this,
Yeah.
paid gigs looks like this,
Yep.
and
Yep.
fame has to be part of the equation, and this kind of thing. Well, I struggled with that as well because I came into Second Life, and when I started doing music in Second Life, I really could only tolerate it as something that I was doing as like my side thing or
Yep.
as my like until something better comes along. But it's really only been in the last, say, like 2 years where I've been like, no, this is actually a hell of a great gig for me. I
Yeah.
make money every time I play, like,
Yep.
and not like huge money, but if you do it enough times, like I'm not losing money, that's for sure.
Well, I think it's a
And I've
trade
got
off.
like,
Yeah. Keep going.
I think I've got a great, like, if you can relinquish the desire to be crazy famous and crazy rich, you can get a lot done,
Well, I
and
think you
you can
can be
have
like I
great
would say you
experiences.
are famous. I would say like so for example, SL is its own universe,
Bro,
its own
come on.
country. And so I think like so for example, the creators of the Legacy Body, I would view them as
Mhm.
famous, right? Like in that
Oh,
in the
I don't know,
world of
man.
Second Life, they're known by everyone, sort of thing.
I suppose, but like I don't really wall off between like real life and Second Life in
Yeah.
that way, where I kind of think like within Second Life, like the idea that some anybody in Second Life is a star is like a joke to me. But it's
Well, let
also
me
the
put it to you
fact
this
that I
way.
don't.
Let me put it to you this
Yeah.
way. There are rooms right now in SL with groups of people gathered in there who you've never met who all know your name. How else do you explain that? They all know
Yeah,
your name, and you've
but
never met them.
keep in mind, you're talking about groups of like 20 to 40 at a time,
Yeah.
whereas real fame is talking about
The
thousands of
same
people
thing
at a
is
time.
said about gamers, right? So like, there's really famous gamers from out of all over the world who play like at esports tournaments and stuff. And I think there's a way to be famous that's mainstream, like a famous singer or a famous movie star. But then there's like really famous gamers, who everyone knows their name, like they're famous creators, but they're just not a
Well,
part of
I
the.
gotta say, that definition of fame definitely exists on a bell curve
Yeah, it
because,
does.
like fame is when my mom is like, I've heard of them,
Yeah, yeah.
she may not
Like
know, like,
household name. Yeah, yeah, true.
yeah, like my mom doesn't know who David Gilmour is, but like
No.
she's heard of Pink Floyd,
Yeah, exactly.
whereas like my
She's
like
never heard of Max the
not
Clean.
only no, and
No.
not just that, but like the world is full of people who've never heard of Second Life, never mind the
Yeah,
famous people within it. So
exactly.
like, we got to really tamp that down, and not just because I think that it's the scale doesn't work, but also like Second Life enables a performer to reap wonderful benefits without having to worry about fame. And in fact, I think fame, if it really came to be leveraged in
You
Second
know what?
Life
You
the
know what
way
it's
that it
like.
actually is, would kind of, I think it would reduce it. I think it would take away, because then we get back in that thing of like, who's better than somebody else,
You know what?
right?
You
And
know what
that
it's
is
more
something
like.
you escape in Second
You know
Life.
what it's more like. It's like living in a very
What's that?
small city. It's like, let's just say,
Yeah.
like, if let's just say you're the biggest musician in SL, right? Let's just say that
Hmm.
like 5,000 people know who you are, right? Maybe even 10,000, and they all love your music and stuff like that, and everyone knows exactly who you are. It's like you could be like, if only your small town exists, and you're like really popular in your small town, and when you play at the bar on a Friday night, everyone comes out because everyone knows your name, and like,
Right.
that to me is what it's like being well known in SL. It's like, if you're the creators of Legacy or you're the owner of Mad P, it's like you're well known, sure, you're famous even, sure, but you're famous in the context of a very small city, a city of about 100,000 people, you know? But when
Oh,
it,
if
yeah,
that. I mean,
if
like,
that, yeah. Well, the music
like
scene,
when
the
you were
music scene
saying,
is the music scene is like 8% of the grid, and so if you get
sure.
100,000 people on average per day, around
Mhm.
8,000 make up the music scene in SL, really. And so
I
if you look at
suppose.
Max's group, for example, he has around 7,000 people in his group. He's like the biggest
Yeah.
musician probably, and so yeah, you can see how Max is in this small city. Max is at the top of the Billboard 100. He's the most well known here, you know, and but you have to,
Yeah, I
yeah, that's how
yeah.
I would see it.
I mean,
It's like well
I'm
known.
really I have trouble with it because I feel like it's not a matter of like fame yes or fame no. I think more in terms of it's just a different paradigm. You know what I mean? Like I don't even think of it in terms of like you don't really measure those things in fame with as
Well,
sorry,
nor
with
should
regard to
you.
fame
Nor
inside of Second
should you.
Life.
I think to measure it that way is toxic. I think that if, like, I
Mhm.
know Max and he is such a nice person,
Oh,
he would
he's a
never,
lovely man.
he would
Yeah.
reject any
No,
form of
he's
like
very humble.
calling him famous. Like, he would be like, wait, what?
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
I
No,
think
no, no. He's wonderful.
when you meet an SL musician, if they give off
Mhm.
the vibe to you that they're too good to talk to, or they're too busy to talk to, or they're too well known to talk to,
Yeah.
you should run from that person. Like that's not okay. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, even if you're the owner of a busy company in SL, it's like you should always be kind and polite to people, because you're not the CEO of Nike. You are.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You're
And
not.
like
Yeah.
in my profile, I'm just gonna open it up. In my profile, in my first life tab, it says bragging about being a rock star in Second Life
Yeah.
is like making a Lego spaceship and
Yeah.
calling yourself Buzz
It's
Aldrin.
like being the king of the Lollipop Guild, right? It's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Like settle down. And I think that's interesting because over the years, I actually have met, and I can think of a few specifically, but like some who have come in here either with a sense of like I'm already famous, so people are gonna love me, or
Uh,
I'm famous within Second Life, and those people, they fail so
Yeah.
hard
Well,
here.
it's
Like
hard. People
they're
can read
and
bullshit.
they're all gone.
Yeah,
All those
of
people are
course.
gone now because it doesn't impress anybody. So
No, it
when you
doesn't.
roll in here with that of like I'm famous thing, like nobody cares.
So
Okay.
this is where I would say, let's just say you've got someone who has never really made friends in real life. They've never really found a way to connect with other human beings.
Okay.
They don't have a lot of family. They're mostly alone, but they work out that they really like creating mesh, and they learn, Blender. They start watching tutorials and they develop the ability to make mesh. And then all of a sudden their products are really well and people really like their stuff. They start selling lots of product. And then they get a bit of a name, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm actually quite busy, like week in, week out, and I'm making a fair bit of money, and I'm running this company now in SL, and people love me." And I walk into a room, and they're like, "Oh, it's what's the name? Who runs the company? Oh, hey, how you doing?" And I'm treated like I'm something, but really I'm just this person in real life who doesn't know anybody, and I'm a little bit autistic. And so it's like in that context, that kind of notoriety, and that to me, I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that there are ways for people who have not perceived themselves as much in real life, who have found a way in SL to be something special. Well, that to me is where I'm at. So in real life, I'm nobody. I'm just this autistic weirdo
Yeah.
who who,
Same.
who lives in a cave. But in SL,
Nobody knows who I am.
yeah, but in SL, I'm somebody, right? Like in SL, I'm Samuel James. I play music. People know who I am. And to me, like I left SL for 5 months, and I was depressed in that 5 months because I worked out that SL gave me a fulfillment. It gave me, I think men crave purpose, and I think SL gives me purpose. It gives me a feeling of belonging, to my friends and my family, and obviously the music stuff. And so I think while the point should never be to be well known, that's absolutely true. But I think to be someone here, like I know people that they're in SL, they're really morbidly obese. They can't leave their homes. They can't even shop for themselves. And in here, they're really popular. They've got a bunch of friends and they look gorgeous.
Sure.
And or there's people that I know. One of my best friends in SL is in a wheelchair, and he's really quite disabled with cerebral palsy, and he's in a wheelchair and he's kind of hunched over. But in SL, he's my church pastor. I look up to him. I get advice from him. I get like moral lessons from him. I look to him for guidance, right? But in real life, he's just a guy with cerebral palsy, half hunched over in his wheelchair. And it's like in SL, he matters so much. And I'm thankful for that.
Let's discover that a little bit, which is that I think that what it does is it reveals the essence inside of a person,
Yeah.
right? And it reveals what you really are. So
Yeah.
interestingly, when you say like in real life he's just this and that, well, actually in real life he's
the
still
same
that
person.
really
Yeah,
cool
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that distracting outer shell that
Yeah.
that does it. And I think I am very, very hesitant and nervous around talking about fame inside of Second Life because, first of all, I don't think that that's applicable, especially to me.
No.
But I think also the problem is that once you start applying some of those concepts, fame or whatever, what happens is you inevitably, it is a sinkhole into an ego space.
Yeah.
And the
And
guys
there's
that I
nothing
know who have come in
uglier.
here,
There's nothing
there's
uglier,
nothing out
right?
there,
Right?
and
Oh.
there's nothing more useless. Honestly,
I've met, I
the
won't
people
say
I know,
names, but I've met people who you can feel their arrogance. You can
yeah,
just
yeah,
feel it. It's like, ugh,
right.
disgusting.
And the thing is, all of the musicians I've known some musicians who really either saw themselves as being famous or saw themselves as being positioned for fame,
Yeah.
and they've disappeared. They've
I had
they
the
what
opposite
are they
problem,
doing
like what
now?
you said to me.
Nothing.
You said to me in a note card. I won't reveal what was said, but
Excuse me.
basically, I have the
Hmm.
opposite problem. It's um, like honestly, dude, and I'll get real. I'll get real. I'm not. I don't normally get
Okay.
that real, but I'll get real with you. Like I
You can
honestly
say whatever
don't.
you
I
want.
most of the time I feel like I'm in like a pretend imposter. Like I don't belong on the same stage as people. Like
Yeah, me too.
I
I get that
constantly
same
feel
feeling.
like I'm just a like I constantly feel like this is what goes through my head when a venue owner pays me to come play. And I perform every single show. I feel guilty that they've paid me because I don't think I'm worth the 4K, which is I feel like I've stolen money from them when they pay me because I feel like, oh, you know, and when I'm playing, I imagine them cringing at how much I suck, and then them going, "Oh God, I really regret giving him money to do this." You know,
And yet it never
every
happens, does it?
single show, man. And then they always say the same thing they say to you, like, "Great show, really glad you came." You know, so
Yeah.
thankful. You know, and it's like you just don't believe it. And I think some people would say to me, Sam, you shouldn't think like that. But also, I would say to them, I'm actually glad I do. Because may I never lose that, right? Like, may I never let go of that unworthiness because I don't want to be that just arrogant narcissist that thinks his shit don't stink, you know?
Yeah, I think it's what I would say is when it comes to ego stuff, and this applies to Second Life or anything else. When it comes to ego stuff, what you're there's that level of thinking that you're something amazing and you're super important and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we already know that that's we already know that's a form of error. And then there's this way of thinking where you think like, I'm not that great. I'm not as good as everybody else. I'm not as capable as everybody else. And that's another way of looking at it. But both of those things are rooted in ego because both of them are super centered on
Oh,
yourself,
true.
you
Yeah,
know?
true. Because it's ego, but it's
Mhm.
inverted. It's like it's all about
Right.
me, but it's about how much
Yeah.
I suck. But it's all about
That's right.
me. Right.
And you
That's
can't stop thinking about
fascinating.
it. You can't stop thinking about it. You can't stop
Right.
talking about it. It's like always in your head. And the way to really free yourself of ego is not to think of yourself as bad, but just to stop thinking
Just to
about
be.
yourself and then walk on that stage and think,
Yeah.
what gift can I give the audience? Like what can I do to be good to them
Oh,
today?
that's so profound that you've said that because I notice some people, I love them dearly, but every time you talk to them, it's just all about the bad stuff in their life, and
Right.
they just
Right.
kind of dump on you all this negativity, and it's like it's hard to view those people as prideful because they're doing the opposite to what pride looks like.
Right.
But what you've just
Right.
said is so accurate because it is all about them, right? Like it is an ego
Right.
trip, just the opposite way.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's the thing is that I mean I understand people are working through tough stuff and I completely understand that, but I do know that any form of ego, whether it's that aggrandizing conceit or whether it's that self-deprecating sort of loathing or whatever it is, like anytime ego comes into it, you're delivering less of
Yeah.
a performance.
So the trick is to let go of that thing in you that even thinks about you, like to just be, to just perform, or whatever it is you do, to just talk to your friends and hang out, and yeah,
Well, while we're talking, like you were saying, while we're talking like real talk here, to perform well, in my opinion, to perform well is to find the place inside you where you have genuine love for the listener and you
yeah,
want to give them a gift
yeah.
and you're focused on them being like
I
you're
do. Oh
focused
my
on
God,
them
I
being
do.
happy. Oh, you're no, you're good
Yeah,
at it. You're a great performer.
some of my fans, over the years, some of them, they'll message me after a show on one particular day, and they'll be like, "I really needed that today," and like you hear
Yeah.
their stories, and some of them have had like a really bad day. It makes me tear up sometimes when I think about it. Like I've spoken to some fans, and they've had a really bad day, and for whatever reason, I've been blessed enough so that me playing guitar has lifted them from a pit. And I just think, wow, what a gift. Like it's so
Oh, it is.
heartwarming when
Yeah.
that happens when you hear
Yeah,
that
and it's a
you've done
gift to
something.
you too, right? Like it's a
It
gift for
is.
you when that happens. And so that's why like being free from the ego in that way becomes a gift for your audience. It becomes a gift for you as well. Like there's no way to be truly happy without at least temporarily forgetting yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's brilliant, man. That's so wise. Yeah, wisest and smartest guest I've had so far, I think. Joel.
Well, um,
Yeah.
I hope your luck gets better in the future. But
I wanna ask you a question before you wrap it up. I
yeah, go
wanna
ahead.
ask you. I
Sure.
always ask this question to a musician. Whenever I have a musician on, I ask this same question.
Okay.
What's your Mount Rushmore of SL musicians who you look at and go, these guys are special. These
Oh,
girls are special. Only four Mount Rushmore. Your top. It's subjective. Obviously, you're not naming the best. You're just simply saying these four are my Mount Rushmore, and every Mount Rushmore is very different. But yeah,
right. Um, including people who aren't playing anymore, or only people that are playing now.
it can include people that have retired, yes, or people that have
Okay.
sadly moved on to the next world.
Sure. Um, well, Twin Ghost would be one. I mean,
Oh,
when I think
Twin
of this, I
Ghost.
think of
Ah,
I think of musicians I would log in to hear.
yeah,
That's my measuring stick.
yeah,
Will I actually drop whatever I'm doing and sit down and log in just to
yeah.
hear them? Twin Ghost is one.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
Liz a
criminal.
Day
It's
is
criminal. Yeah,
another.
Liz Day, she's great.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Keep going.
um, just thinking about. There's so many. That's
Yeah,
the
there
problem.
is.
There's so
There's
many. I'm trying to.
heaps. Yeah.
Um, I would also say Mulder Watts, or
Never heard
his
of
real
that.
name is
Mulder
John
Watts.
Watson. Oh, he's not in that much anymore. I didn't ask him. Like, we're friends. I didn't ask him actually directly. I probably should ask him about this, but I think he has a hearing thing that makes it hard for him to do it.
Right,
I
right. So you
forget,
had to
but
retire.
uh,
Yep.
yeah, no, he. You know what? I'll share some of his stuff with you because it is fantastic.
Yep.
I'm going to break. Okay, so I'm Canadian. I'm not American. So I'm going to violate the Mount Rushmore rule, and I'm going to give you five.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, okay. That's
So,
cool.
so Twin would be one. Mulder Watts would be another. Liz
Liz the
would be
Day. Yep.
one. Liz a day. I would say PT Beardmore, who doesn't really play in Second
Yep.
Life anymore, but he's a guy. Do you know him? Did you hear him?
I've never heard of him. No,
Oh,
never heard
he's
of him.
wonderful. And you know what's great is he's not just a great singer and a great player, but one of the things I always loved about him, and this seems like a secondary thing in some ways, but for me it always impressed me, where he um was incredibly good at just getting a great vocal sound and a great guitar sound. So, like, it was EQ'd perfectly, it was balanced perfectly, and when that happens, you get fatigued much less by that. So you can sit for an hour and listen and feel fresh at the end, you know?
Yep.
And I think they're probably number five. And like, this is not a ranking among them. Like any of these would be interchangeable. Would probably be Tally. I
Tally's
don't know
my
if you've heard
favorite.
him or not.
Tally's my favorite of
Yeah,
all time. He's first time I
he's
heard him play, I
amazing.
cried like a baby. Yep.
He is something truly special. I mean, they
It
all
is.
are.
Tally makes me angry, actually. To be honest with you, like I get physically angry about Tally's
Mhm.
music because of how criminal it is that he isn't actually famous in the real world. It is aggravating to me. He is so good. It is ridiculous.
He
If
is
I could,
so good.
if I could spend my life playing music and sound half as good as his sets, I'd die a happy man. But yeah,
Yeah, and he's such a lovely human being too.
yep.
Like, I've had some lovely conversations with him, and he's very deep.
Yeah.
You guys actually might connect,
Oh, we
especially
know
on.
each
Well,
other.
maybe I
We
don't know.
definitely know each other
Okay,
for sure. Yeah.
okay. Well, he's. But there's also like I really need like a Mount Rushmore eight, because
Well,
like
yeah, I know.
I haven't
I know.
mentioned Laureen
It's
Aldrin,
so
I haven't
easy to
mentioned
keep
Robert
going, right?
Destiny.
It is
Yeah,
so
and I
easy to
mean,
just drop all these names and
really
say they're all good.
special musicians. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, the thing is, I'm not one of these people who will say everybody's good. And that's
Yep.
definitely like that. I'm just not that person.
Yep.
There are a lot of musicians in Second Life where I think that's good for you, but like, I'm not going to log in to hear you. But
Yep.
like Lorene Aldrin, who sings with
Lorraine's
me
great.
on,
Yeah. She's
she's,
great.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
she is, I will tell you, as a guy who's worked with her on like recording stuff and like on professional album stuff, whenever I'm working, so I'll have like maybe two or three session musicians, maybe four session musicians involved in the recording process for an album, including Lorene. She's the only one who will send me tracks where as soon as I get them, I'll be like, no notes. You don't have to change a thing. Like, it's
Yeah.
just fine.
It's
And then
great
I
the
can
way it is.
always work with she is the most naturally musically gifted person I have ever met in my life. I've never met anybody who has better instincts or just, and she, what a hell of a guitar player too, by the way, not just a singer, but that woman can play guitar like crazy. So she's the whole package, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, And I think Rara I would include because
Rara's great.
I've always considered
Yep.
I've considered to be not just a great like a great like her voice is singular, right?
Mm-hmm.
She has this voice that's just incredible, but she's a great entertainer. Like
Mm-hmm.
she's a master class in how to talk to your audience, right?
Yep.
And I always just hearing her banter between the songs is almost as much fun as the
Yeah.
songs.
Well, that's what people love about my shows too. They're always saying about it makes the show, I did that on purpose.
Absolutely,
When
it
I
does, yeah.
first started in SL, I did the whole tortured artist thing where I played my songs and had a melancholy vibe and just trying to show the world my art, and then no one was coming. Yeah, no one would turn up.
Right.
So I thought I got to do something different, and then it clicked in my brain that I'm an entertainer first and artist second. And that
Yeah.
changed everything. And then it became less about me showing the world my little show and
That's right.
tell. And it became
And
more
then the
about
ego
yeah,
disappears,
yeah.
right?
And then it became more about how can I make these people smile.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's not about your experience, it's about their
It
experience. That's what
is.
you're there
It
for,
is
right?
exactly. Yeah. We're
It's
entertainers. Yeah.
absolutely. And the thing is like it can be deep and it can be meaningful and it can be rich and it can be mature and it can be spiritual. But when you're there, you are working for them and it doesn't matter if you're making $1,000 or you're making just 5 cents. You commit for that hour to giving them the best experience you can possibly give them and whatever you're going through doesn't matter
Mm-hmm.
and you have to let go of that.
Yep. I agree. Yeah, I agree 100%. Thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate you making the
Oh,
time to do the
well, how much
podcast,
fun
dude.
that is. Oh, I
Yeah.
really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I loved it, man. Thanks for dropping by. I appreciate it.